Let's jump right in. We're going to tackle a huge question today. Is the U.S. Constitution, a document written, over 200 years ago, still fit for a world of AI, social media, and constant surveillance?
I mean, really think about that. How can a set of rules written with quill pens possibly govern a world of smartphones and artificial intelligence? That's the core conflict, right? And that's exactly what we're going to explore.
And look, we're not just throwing ideas around here. Everything we're about to cover is grounded in some really fascinating research by Dr. Rony A. Rodas. He saw just how urgent this question has become in our tech-heavy society, and he's the one who did the deep dive to figure out what people are really thinking.
Okay, so first, let's set the stage a little. Before we can even get into the debate today, we have to appreciate just how wildly different the world was when the Constitution was first written.
We're talking 1787. This was a world of farms, not data farms. News traveled by horse, not at the speed of light. And that context is absolutely crucial, because it's the root of almost all the tension that we're feeling today.
So all that tension has sparked this huge debate that honestly sits at the center of so many legal fights in the country. It really boils down to two completely different ways of looking at what the Constitution is supposed to be.
In one corner, you have originalism. The idea here is that the Constitution is like a strict blueprint. Its meaning is locked into what the words meant back in the 1700s. And in the other corner, you have living constitutionalism. This view sees it more as an evolving framework, something that has to be flexible enough to handle challenges the founders could have never, ever imagined.
And this quote from Dr. Rodas' study just hits the nail on the head. One of his key findings was that for the document to last, it has to be able to actually deal with the world we live in right now.
Now we get to the real friction point. This is where that old text smacks right into our modern technology.
And these aren't just abstract ideas. Think about it. The Fourth Amendment protects you from unreasonable searches, right? Well, what does that mean when your private data is on a server 1,000 miles away? What does free speech in the First Amendment mean on a social media site run by a private company's algorithm? Dr. Rodas found these are the exact kinds of tough questions people are wrestling with.
And wow, this timeline really puts it into perspective. You've got the Bill of Rights way back in 1791, and then this massive time jump to the internet, smartphones, and now AI. The pace of technology is just exploding, and our legal system is struggling to keep up.
So that's the theory, but Dr. Rodas' work went a step further. He actually asked people what they thought. And what he uncovered? Well, it was a massive divide.
On the surface, it looks like everyone's on the same page. You ask people what the Constitution means to them, and you get the answers you'd expect. Rights, freedom, privacy. These are the big, core values we all seem to share. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, the research showed that even though we're all using the same words, we might not mean the same thing at all, especially when it comes to what we should do about it.
And the data from the study makes this divide absolutely crystal clear. Almost 80% of Gen Z participants said the Constitution needs major changes. Compare that to boomers, where it's only about 30%. That's not a small difference. That is a massive generational chasm.
So, what's behind this huge gap? Well, the research points to something called procedural justice theory. Basically, it says our trust in the system isn't just about the words on the page. It's about whether we feel the institutions applying those words, like the courts and the government, are being fair and transparent. And for a lot of younger Americans, that trust is wearing pretty thin.
All right, let's pull all of these threads together. After all this, what's the final verdict? Is the Constitution still relevant or not?
This map from the study is a great way to see how it all connects. You can't talk about civil liberties without also talking about the gaps in tech regulation. And you can't talk about either of those things without talking about public trust. It's all tangled together.
So, Dr. Rodas' analysis boils all of this down into four main themes. First, there's interpretive flexibility, that need to adapt. Second, technology friction, all those new challenges we talked about. Third is trust and legitimacy, which is the bedrock for the whole thing. And finally, generational values, the simple fact that younger people just see the world differently. So what is the final answer? Timeless or outdated? Well, the study concludes that it's neither. The relevance of the Constitution isn't some fixed thing. It's more like an active, ongoing negotiation between what it says and the world we're actually living in. And that's really the biggest takeaway from Dr. Rodas' work. This isn't just a debate for lawyers and professors. The future of this document is being decided right now by us, by our technology, by our politics. So the real question it leaves us with is, how are we going to write that next chapter?